All right, so today we're going on a pretty incredible journey. We're going to explore a transformation that spans centuries of faith, art, and pure engineering genius. We're going to see how Indian temple architecture grew from these really simple, humble structures into some of the most breathtaking buildings you can find anywhere on Earth. So let's dive in. It all really starts with the simple question: how did this, just a functional, unadorned stone box built for worship, and this temple from the 5th century is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. This is temple number 17 at Sanchi. I mean, just look at it. The core features are all there: a simple, square inner room, a little pillared porch, and a flat roof. It's elegant for sure, but it's still, fundamentally that simple box. So how, over the course of about 600 years, did that incredibly simple form evolve to become this? A symbolic mountain carved from stone, just covered in deities and seeming to reach right up into the heavens. This right here is the Kanduriya Mahadeva Temple. It's like a symphony of towers, all designed to look like a mountain range, which is a representation of Mount Meru, the cosmic mountain, the home of the gods. The journey from that humble stone box to this cosmic mountain, well, that's the story we're exploring today. Okay, but before we trace that amazing evolution, we kind of need to understand the basic blueprint. What are the essential parts that make a Hindu temple a Hindu temple? At the absolute heart of every single temple is the Garbhagriha, and the name literally translates to womb house, which is just a perfect description. It's a small, dark, almost cave-like sanctum where the main deity resides. This is the spiritual core of the entire building. And this cross-section really helps to put it all together. See, you've got the Garbhagriha, that inner sanctum. Leading up to it is the Mandapa, which is a hall for worshippers to gather. And then, soaring directly above that holy inner room is the Shikhara, the tower, which, as we're about to see, becomes the temple's most defining feature. So, with that blueprint in mind, let's look at the first big growth spurt in temple design. It happened in 5 pretty distinct stages during what's known as the Gupta period. And this evolution was really methodical, with each stage adding a new layer of complexity. First, they started building temples on higher platforms, and they added a walkway for rituals. But stage 3, that was the real game changer. That's when architects added the very first towers. After that, they even started playing with the fundamental shapes of the shrines themselves, making them rectangular or even circular. And right here, you can see that critical leap from stage 1 to stage 3 so clearly. On the left, you've got that simple, flat-roofed temple. On the right, one of the very first temples with a shikhara, or tower. Now, it's still pretty small, but that single decision to build upward was a revolution. It really showed this deep desire to connect our earthly world with the divine, to build this secret axis reaching for the heavens. Now, from these common roots, something fascinating happens. 2 grand and totally distinct traditions emerged. It created this great architectural divide between the temples of the north and the temples of the south. And you know what it all comes down to? The tower. In the north, the Nagara style developed a tall, curving tower called a shikhara. Down in the south, the Dravida style favored a stepped, kind of pyramidal tower called a vimana. This one feature, the shape of the tower, basically created 2 completely distinct architectural languages. So let's start our tour up in the north and take a look at the Nagara style, which you can really see is characterized by its ambition to just reach ever skyward. So what makes a Nagara-style temple? Well, first off, you'll notice it's almost always built on a high platform, lifting it off the ground. It's got that signature curving shikhara, and it's topped with a very distinct disc-shaped stone called an amalaka. But also, pay attention to what's missing. There usually aren't any big boundary walls or water tanks, and that's a huge difference from what we're about to see in the south. But, it's not quite that simple. Even within the Nagara style, shikhara wasn't a one-size-fits-all term. The tower itself actually took on different forms. For example, on the left, you have the most common type, the latina, which has that classic smooth curve rising up to a single point. But then on the right, you have the famsana type. See how it's wider, shorter, and made of these stacked horizontal slabs? This sturdier-looking form was often used for the halls leading to the main shrine, while the much taller latina crowned the secret sanctum itself. All right, let's head south and explore the Dravida style. If the northern style was all about its towers, the southern style is maybe most famous for its absolutely magnificent gateways. The Dravida style just offers a completely different vibe. Unlike the open-air temples of the north, the entire complex is enclosed by these high boundary walls. As you enter, you pass through a massive, ornate gateway called a gopuram. Inside, you'll often find a large water tank for rituals, and the main shrine is crowned by that stepped pyramidal tower we talked about, the Vimana. Now here's where it gets a little tricky, so stick with me. The entire southern tower is called the Vimana. Its crowning piece, that little octagonal dome at the very top, that's also called a shikara. Confusing, I know, but totally different from the entire tower called a shikara up in the north. And that gateway, the gopuram, man, it deserves a closer look. Over time, it grew to become the most spectacular and defining feature of the entire southern style. And this just brilliantly illustrates the point. Look at the sheer scale of these gopurams at the Meenakshi temple. Eventually, these entrance towers became so immense and so ornate that they often completely dwarfed the main tower over the inner sanctum. They became the main event of the whole temple complex. And here, you can see all those elements together in a true masterpiece, the Brihadeshwara temple. You can see the grand boundary walls, the really complex layout, and that iconic stepped pyramidal Vimana rising majestically over the Garbhagriha. It's a perfect example of the Chola dynasty's incredible contribution to this style. But what happens when these two great traditions meet? Well, you get a fascinating fusion, a creative hybrid that borrows from both the north and the south. This hybrid style is called the Vasara style, and you can basically think of it like an equation. Architects took the curving tower profile from the northern Nagar style and then combined it with the super ornate carvings and complex walled layouts of the southern Dravida style. And this wasn't just a random mix and match. It really flourished in regions like Karnataka, which was right at the crossroads of these two great traditions. This temple in Dambal is a perfect example. Look closely at the tower. You can see it's built in layers. Kind of like a southern Vimana, but its overall shape has that distinct curve of a northern shikara, not the sharp angles of a pyramid. It's a true, beautiful blend of both traditions, and really a testament to the creativity of architects who saw two different languages and decided to create their own unique dialect. From a simple stone box to a mountain of the gods, this architectural journey is just an incredible story of evolution, divergence, and creative fusion. So I'll leave you with this thought. What can this journey, driven by generations and generations of artists and patrons, teach us about the power of a shared vision to create something truly, truly timeless?